All right, what's going on, everyone? We're going to take a look at a Pentagon press briefing with Air Force General, Brigadier General Ryder that took place yesterday, November 29th, 2022. I actually think these Pentagon press briefings are kind of underappreciated for what they can provide. I mean, every government has their messaging, we'll say, to put it nicely. But I do think there's some value in going direct to the source, in this case, the Pentagon, when there's so much speculation and rumors even about what's happening or what might be in the future. But at the end of the day, just like anything else, this is one source, interpret it as you will. To save you a little time and headaches, I paraphrased a lot of what you're going to see over the rest of this video from that readout. The readout is available for the full context in the description below. But the Pentagon and politicians, man, they have to hedge so much with what they're saying. There's so many qualifiers that it just rambles on and on and on and on. So I tried to cut through a lot of that and just provide kind of the meat and potatoes of each question and answer in this video. All right, let's dive on in. First question: on a background call earlier today, a senior defense official said the U.S. is open to sending the Patriot missile defense system to Ukraine. Can you give us an update on the deliberations going on here? How likely is it that the U.S. would send a Patriot system? And what are some of the considerations with that system? General Ryder said, right now, we have no plans to provide Patriot batteries to Ukraine. He's going to go into some details here. The reporter asked why. General Ryder said, you're talking about a pretty significant maintenance and sustainment tail, as well as training on those things. So none of these systems are plug and play. You can't just show up on the battlefield and start using them. And so these are the kinds of things that are taken into account when it comes to more advanced systems. So to cut away, this is my personal analysis here. I don't want to get that mixed up with what the Pentagon is officially saying, but there's just no good solution, right? In the middle of a war, you want to be able to have the best systems available at all times, but some of those take a lot of training and resources to get in place. Let's start with the training. I think the AIT is 11 weeks, the advanced training for the soldiers that are working on the Patriot missile systems. That's after basic training. And I'm sure it's not a perfect system. It probably doesn't take all 11 weeks. That's really just tip of the iceberg. After that, these soldiers go out to their units. They get to put hands on their actual equipment and interact with soldiers and leaders who have worked on Patriots for years. And that is probably when the most learning happens. But Ukraine doesn't have the experienced cadre on this system. So once that training is complete, they're kind of going to be operating on their own with occasional link backs to Western sources. The other part kind of at play here is the way air defense systems work is they're kind of an interconnected network. They exchange information, pass targets back and forth, and sort of act as a shield over a certain designated area. But the Patriot doesn't really speak the same language, maybe is the right way to put it, as every other system that Ukraine is using. What I'm getting at is one Patriot is something, but realistically, one of the major values in this weapon system is having multiple tied into the same network, which gets to the sustainment and logistics challenge. The Patriot is a totally different system from anything that Ukraine is operating right now. That means it has its own unique set of parts. Those little random things that break that are hard to find, those have to be brought into Ukraine or at least front-loaded in Poland. And when it comes to the expertise that people have in fixing and repairing these launchers when they inevitably go down, we have people in the United States who have been doing this for years and years, and that's not a skill set that you can hand over in a couple weeks or months. 100%, this could be a long-term solution for Ukraine. But in terms of protecting their skies in the next 60, 90, 120 days, the Patriot really isn't it. Now, this kind of thing has been done so far in Ukraine. If you look at the HIMARS, for example, that's not as complicated a system as the Patriot, but it still was brand new to the Ukrainian soldiers, required its own unique type of ammunition and parts, and that was figured out in a relatively short time period. So, not crazy that something similar could be figured out with the Patriot, but it does have its own set of challenges. Moving on, a question I thought was interesting. A reporter asked, is Elon Musk or the U.S. military paying for Starlink? General Ryder said the United States, the DoD, has not paid any money to Starlink for Starlink systems or Starlink capability in Ukraine. Next one was about Iranian drones and weapon systems being used in Ukraine. A reporter asked, do you have an updated estimate of how many Iranian drones have made their way into Russian hands for their use against Ukraine? And is your understanding that these continue to flow into the country? I'm sorry, these reporters, when they get their chance, they ask like 6 questions tied into one to try to get everything out. And I'm trying to parse, the main question out that actually gets answered, but they really jam them in there. General Ryder said, We do know that Iran has provided at least hundreds of those drones to Russia for use in Ukraine. I'm not going to get into specific numbers. Certainly, we know there is intent there on the part of Russia to try to acquire additional systems. I don't have any updates to provide on when and if those have been delivered, but it does highlight the concerning behavior, the fact that Iran and Russia share this relationship and continue to export terror and use these systems to attack non-military targets, to include civilians. Another addition here in that kind of realm, this was not in the briefing, just something I wanted to bring up. A while ago, there were reports that Iran was going to be sending their Fatah, F-A-T-A-H, 101 ballistic missile to Russia for use in Ukraine. I haven't seen any more on that, and it doesn't look like, at least as of today, November 30th, 2022, that those have been used so far in the conflict. This one was unique. As a reporter from Task and Purpose asked, the head of the Wagner Private Military Corporation, that's Yevgeny Prigozhin, right in the middle of the screen here, has claimed that a retired Marine general officer works for his company, Wagner Group. I've called a couple Marine general officers. They're unaware of any of their comrades now joining Wagner. Is this something that the Defense Department can rule out as disinformation at this point? General Ryder said, I can say that we've seen those press reports. We've seen no names associated with those press reports, not aware of any names associated with those. And so I think, again, very likely that this is not surprisingly propaganda. Again, I would refer you to the Marine Corps, but I don't know how much credibility I would put into the Wagner Group. That headline popped up over the last couple of days, and it kind of seems like Prigozhin just said it in passing. Like, I don't know, a barb maybe, trolling a little bit. I'm not sure. There 100% are non-Russian fighters fighting in the Wagner Group from all around the world. I haven't seen a great breakdown of where they're from, but if there was a retired US or from any NATO country general officer in the Wagner Group, I have a sneaky feeling Prigozhin and the Wagner Group wouldn't want to keep that hidden. Seems like something they would want to elevate and promote. So I don't know, maybe it's happening. Just doesn't seem like there's very much evidence to support a retired US Marine general working for the Wagner Group fighting against Ukraine. Moving on to the Turkey-Syria issue, potential increase in violence there. The reporter asked, today, SDF commander said that a Turkish ground operation is imminent, but only preventable through pushback from the United States and Russia. Do you share this assessment? General Ryder said, we do remain concerned about a potential Turkish ground invasion in Syria, and again would urge restraint. I'm not going to speculate about whether or not Turkey is going to do that. Again, our focus is on the defeat of ISIS. In terms of communication with our Turkish allies, we do maintain regular communication with them. This is an interesting one. It's been a little over a week since Turkish President Erdogan said that Turkey was going to push into the Kurdish-held areas of Syria as soon as the strikes were complete. There was pretty quickly an increase in airstrikes and artillery strikes all across that area of Syria carried out by Turkey. There are some rumors that Turkey might be in some sort of negotiations with the United States and Russia to try to get something accomplished without kicking off any sort of new offensive, but nothing really concrete on that front. The next reporter asked, the U.S. and Israel are conducting a major exercise over the Mediterranean, practicing long-range strikes, which are clearly an Iran profile. Can you tell us anything about the role of the U.S. in the exercise? General Ryder said this is a long-planned exercise with the United States and Israel, and they're exercising fighter escort and aerial refueling, what you see in the picture here. It's a long-planned exercise, and it's not something that's unusual. We exercise with Israel and other countries in the region on a regular basis. Last one here, kind of a shot is how I read this. More of a statement than a question. But anyways, the reporter said, how can you protect Ukraine with providing energy assistance, at the same time not providing more air defenses and protecting them against these Russian strikes? General Ryder's response was, we have already provided a fair amount of capability and are committed to providing more. As you know, we have an additional 6 NASAMs that will be provided over the next couple of years, as well as international allies who have begun to provide other capabilities to include Germany, Spain, and France. And so that will continue to be an ongoing discussion. It was the focus of our recent Ukraine Defense Contact Group. But anyways, I think that's a question that's going to be asked probably over and over again, so long as we continue to provide any sort of assistance to Ukraine. As long as they're continuing to fight, if the United States is providing X, somebody's going to ask, well, why not provide 2X and solve this problem in this war, whatever it might be? All right, that'll do it for now. We'll see y'all next time.